Okay, we are recording. I get nervous whenever I turn the camera on, so let me just hype myself up. Blah blah blah. I look silly, don't I? Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel of your favorite, or soon-to-be favorite, Bookworm Twink Supreme. So welcome, or welcome if you are new. If you love books and you want to see this twink talk about them, I highly suggest looking for this button and fingering it. Also, while you're down there, you might want to look for the bell, because if you hit that bell, let me tell you what happens if you hit the bell, okay? Let me tell you what happens. Let me fill you in. YouTube, this platform that you are watching this shit on, will magically notify you when I post new stuff. It's free. You might as well just do it. It'll take you all of 3 seconds. I'm gonna wait. I'm waiting. Are you done? Okay. It's currently 1 in the morning because I haven't my shiteth together yet. I don't know what day it is anymore because of the quarantine, and as a result all the days are bleeding into one another, and I didn't know how late it was into October. So I am now filming a video that I should have filmed, say it with me, at the start of the month, but did not. It's late in October, and you know what, I might as well. I could have skipped it, but I was like, no, I'm a trooper. I am determined. Even though it is already the 24th of October, so this will probably be up on the 26th. Who knows? Don't come for me. Honestly, go ahead. You have the right. There are still some readathons that are happening around the Halloween weekend, and as a result, I'm gonna be putting out a list of horror books that I like, horror books that I recommend for you to consume before spooky season ends. Okay? Okay, so buckle in your seatbelts, get your super special fun juice. Just kidding, this is water. Or is it? And I'm gonna tell you about a bunch of horror books that I think are sexual. And I'm gonna tell you, lovely people, about a bunch of books that I think are scary and spooky and worth reading, okay? So, what's the first one? Interesting question. I should probably look at my list that I made literally like 30 minutes ago. So the first book I'm gonna recommend to you is the book Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And this book is quite fantastic, and I didn't think I was gonna like it as much as I did. I normally don't like horror books that veer outside the domain of the real world. Damn, domain? Big words, dude. Good job. Not bad for 1 AM, right? What's this book about? We follow a young woman named Noemi, and she gets a letter from her cousin Catalina. And the contents of the letter basically suggest that this girl is not doing well in the head. As a result, Noemi's father is like, bitch, you better get your ass down there and figure out what's up with Catalina, because we can't have this shit in our family, okay? So you're gonna go there, you're gonna figure out what's up with this bitch's white family that she married into, and you're gonna report your ass back to me, and we're gonna figure out what we can do. So then she goes to this Mexican countryside, and she begins to realize that something is up with Catalina, and her dad was not being paranoid. So what did I love about this book? I loved the gore, I loved the twists, I loved the atmosphere. The word Gothic is on the title, so it had to deliver on the atmosphere, and it does. It does. And pretty good on the commentary, okay? So definitely pick this one up if you are in the mood for horror with a brain and mind and soul. Anyway, so the next one I'm gonna recommend is a thing that I discovered this year, and it is a manhwa called Killing Stalking. Because killing happens and stalking happens. Let me tell you what it's about. We follow these two men, okay? The main guy we follow is a guy named Yoonbom, and he is this guy who is very frail, very thin, very weak, and he grew up with a life of bullying. And in Korea, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that you have to serve in the military if you are a man of a certain age. And whilst he was serving in the military, he was bullied and abused. I'm not gonna say the extent of this, but it was bad. And he was rescued by this guy named Sangwo. And because of this rescuing, he got infatuated with Sangwo from afar. okay? And so one day he's like, I think I'm in love, so I'm gonna, say it with me, stalk this guy, memorize the code to his house, and break into the house, as one does. And then he discovers that the guy is a serial killer with literal dead bodies in the house. But before he can leave the house, Sangwoo breaks his legs and says, you are now my prisoner. This manhwa is sick and twisted and depraved in the most glorious ways. It's like a Gillian Flynn novel, honestly. The woman hasn't written a book in about 50 years, so I sincerely hope she's not turning into a Donna Tartt with the I'm gonna need 10 years to put this shit out and you cannot complain. Don't do that to us, Gillian, whatever. The reason I say that this is like a Gillian Flynn novel that wasn't actually written by Gillian Flynn is because it does what Gone Girl kind of does in how it takes the idea of romance and what you think of somebody and your impression of falling in love with them from afar, and it basically stomps its foot on the concept of love and romance and says love is dead and fuck you if you believe in it, and that the world is a cold, dark place. And I love it with my entire mind, body, and soul. This is probably gonna be in my top 10 of the year because I read it this year, and I just adore this manhwa with every fiber of my being. It just spoke to me in ways that I'm not spoken to. Slapped me in the face with its I loved it so much. 10 out of 10, highly recommend. On to the next recommendation. So the next one I'm going to recommend is a manga from Japan, from Junji Ito, and it's called Shiver. And this is actually a collection of short stories that pulls inspiration from many genres of horror. So you have the psychological, you have the supernatural, you've got the body horror. The art is fantastic. It has something for all kinds of horror fans. And it has a story called Greased Oil, which was so disgusting I could not read it. I mean, I did finish it, but I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. Great stuff. Good stuff. You better check it out, okay? Okay, my camera's shaking. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to recommend is a horror book called Near the Bone by Christina Henry. I read this book earlier this year and it wowed me like no book has wowed me before. Okay, let me tell you what it's about. We follow this woman named something, and I think her name is like Mattie or Margaret or Marianne, Mary Sue, fucking. And she is young and she has this much older husband and she lives in this secluded snowy mountain with him, and they live this very remote lifestyle. It's very Handmaid's Tale up in their house. That is the dynamic of their relationship, basically. And one day they are in the woods and they discover a cave, and in the cave are bones of animals that were hunted by this thing, this creature, in a way that most creatures that live in the woods do not hunt their prey. In this cave, they find bones that are like, you know, hoarded in the cave. So they suspect that there is a cryptid. Now, a cryptid is a Bigfoot, Sasquatch kind of monster kind of thing, you know? And this book is so incredible because there are so many twists, and I did not know where the story was going at all. I was like, why does he treat her like this? Why is their relationship like this? What are they hiding from one another? In the end, I was just so wowed by it. I love this book so much. So the next book I'm gonna recommend is 12 Nights at Rotter House. And we basically follow this guy named Felix, who is a travel writer. He writes for travel logs in the country's most haunted places. That's how he mainly earns his income. But he's down on his luck. He's not doing too well in life. And he needs some dough, you know? He's gotta make some coin. So how does he make some coin? Well, he proposes that this lady who owns this supposedly most haunted house in America called Rotter... Can you see that I am an anxious mess? Okay, can I just be real with you guys? Whenever I film a video, I get anxiety because I'm a very anxious person, and I normally wear shirts until here, but like I've decided to, you know, be a bit more fashionable and shit, and you can literally see me breaking out into hives, okay? Like, if for people who doubt that I have anxiety, like literally my whole torso looks like this when I have anxiety. We need to destigmatize the conversation around mental health. Like, it's okay to admit that you're fucked sometimes. Like me now. Take a sip of water and breathe. That's not me giving you advice, that's just me trying to hype myself up so I can you know, finish this video and have content out, even though I would rather be crying in that corner over there. So you better fucking watch this whole thing. What was I talking about? 12 Nights at Water House. Okay, so he gets the owner of the house to let him stay in the house, and he's like, okay, if I can come up with a book in this house, have it be my last ditch effort at hopefully getting a bestseller, it'll all be worth it. So he stays in the house and vows that he will not be leaving the house for 13 days. And to help him out, he enlists the help of his friend to stay in the house with him, and they stay in the house together. And they discover that this house could potentially be haunted. This book is a better Kill Creek than Kill Creek, just to put that out there. And I normally don't use this word to describe horror books, but I'm gonna say it now, because this book deserves it. This book is poignant. This book hit me right in the feels. I read this book when I was going through something very difficult in life, and I am eternally grateful for this author because this book helped me get through that so much, and it helped me smile after many days of not smiling. So the next book I'm going to talk about is The Patient by Jasper DeWitt, and oh boy! So we follow this guy named Parker, and he is this psychiatrist who goes to this mental institution because he hears that in this mental institution there is a certain patient who has been there for many years, who was admitted at age 6 and is now 40 years old. And here's the thing. Every single person who has tried to psychiatrist this person, I don't know, who has tried to give therapy to this person has either taken their own lives or has gotten severely traumatized. A lot of people dislike this book for some reason. I give it 5 stars, and when I tried to sleep that night, I could feel a presence in my room because this book really got to me and I could not put it down. I had to binge it all in one day, the next day, because I could not bear the thought of taking this story into the next day with moi. It just wasn't gonna happen. I was not gonna let it happen. Just no thank you. Not today. Not in this lifetime. No, 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 no. So the next book I'm gonna recommend is a book that I actually own, and that is The Ruins by Scott Smith. I'm so sorry I owned the movie tie-in. I got this at Half Price Books. I didn't know I was gonna love it, but I ended up loving it. We follow these two couples. They're in Mexico. They make some friends. Somebody goes missing. They look for the missing person, and they end up in the woods. And in the woods, they come across these ruins. Things go down, and they regret going on vacation. And it's literally like all their fault because they were staying in a fancy, nice beach resort, and the locals in the area of the ruins were like, do not get up in those ruins. But did they stop to think, maybe I should listen to the people who live here? No. That wasn't the thing that happened. That was not a choice they had made that day. And this book shows what happens to people who don't listen to other people who know more than them and are stupid tourists. It's fun. So the next 2 books I'm going to mention are ones that I actually read this month. And the first one is We Need to Do Something by Max Booth. And I actually posted a full review of this book on my Bookstagram. Follow me on Bookstagram, link down below. And basically we follow this family who are trapped in this bathroom because a tree has fallen on their house because there was a storm the night before. And if you've seen the film The Lighthouse with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, you will know the kind of vibes this has. Super tight setting, only few people, disclosing their sins, breaking down the facade that they have put up to coexist with one another. They are being forced to coexist with their darkness slowly emerging. And this book is so intense. I had to stop reading it for a moment in time. I had to pause. I had to like not be around it for a while because it was just getting so much. Like a lot. Like I could not be around these characters because they were just getting so at each other's throats. This is way more intense than most things that pass themselves off as thrillers nowadays. So that was why I loved that. And the final book I'm going to recommend is a book that I finished just yesterday, and that is The Last House on Needless Street by Katrina Ward. And I really don't know how much I can say about this book without spoiling, because this is one of those books that, like, the plot is a spoiler. So we follow this guy named Ted, and he is a very traumatized, very disturbed man that comes from a very haunted past, and he lives in a house with his daughter Lauren and his cat Olivia. And then on the other hand, we follow a woman named Dee, who, when she was a kid, her younger sister had gone missing when she was supposed to be with her, and she has blamed herself this whole time. And so she will stop at nothing to uncover what had happened to her sister in the time that she had not seen her. And so we follow these two perspectives, and we see what could potentially be happening. And I had some thoughts as to what was happening very early on, but I was wrong about everything, and I loved that. I loved it a lot. And this is one of the creepiest books I have ever read. It's very cerebral. Like, it kind of reminded me of I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. Those kinds of vibes. Very psychological, very cerebral, very deliberately paced. It has those same kinds of vibes, and if you were a fan of one, I think you would be a fan of the other. Consequently, if you hated I'm Thinking of Ending Things, I don't think you would like this book at all. So, fair warning, just letting you know. Anyway, I think that is gonna do it. Thank you so much for watching. Like and comment and subscribe. Share this video with your friends, and I will love you forever. I hope to see you in future videos, but as always, take care. I lose myself